Ernesto Che Guevara, his face immortalized on countless t-shirts, has become an international symbol of rebellion, counterculture, and anti-establishment sentiments. Yet, amid the fashion statements and pop culture iconography, the real Che Guevara remains obscured in the shadows of ideological debates and polarized opinions. For many, he's nothing more than a fashionable print on clothing, his revolutionary legacy lost in the sea of trendy accessories. However, for others, Che is heralded as a valiant freedom fighter, tirelessly advocating for the liberation of the oppressed in South America. On the flip side, critics condemn him as a typical Marxist whose ideology is perceived as a poisonous force leading to suffering and death. Today, we embark on a journey to uncover the multifaceted persona of Che Guevara, exploring both the commendable and the controversial aspects of his life. By delving beyond the surface, we unravel the complexities that define this enigmatic revolutionary figure. Ernesto Guevara, born in 1928 to an upper-class Argentine family, was raised in an environment marked by leftist leanings. Despite his privileged background, Guevara displayed an affinity for the poor from an early age. His family's political inclinations and exposure to discussions on social justice issues set the stage for his later revolutionary pursuits. Guevara's childhood was marked by a paradoxical combination of physical frailty given his bouts with acute asthma and athletic prowess. An avid sportsman, he excelled in activities such as swimming, football, golf, and rugby. Notably, his aggressive style of play in rugby would later find parallels with his role as a guerrilla fighter and leader. In addition to his athletic pursuits, Guevara demonstrated a keen intellectual curiosity and literary passions. His family home boasted a library of more than 3,000 books, shaping his diverse interests in subjects ranging from philosophy and political science to history and engineering. Influenced by authors such as Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Andrei Gide, Guevara's political leanings took roots during his formative years. A CIA biographical and personality report from February 1958, declassified decades later, acknowledged Guevara's intellectual depth, describing him as quite well-read and noting his wide range of academic interests. This intellectual foundation, combined with his evolving political consciousness, laid the groundwork for Guevara's future revolutionary ideology. The pivotal point in Guevara's early life came with a transformative motorcycle journey, vividly documented in his posthumously published memoir, The Motorcycle Diaries. As a 23-year-old medical student, he embarked on two introspective journeys through the rural provinces of northern Argentina and a continental motorcycle trek through South America. In Chile, encounters with the working conditions of miners and the destitution of a persecuted communist couple fueled Guevara's growing dissatisfaction with the status quo. The journey reached its zenith with his immersion in the camaraderie of a leper colony, where he witnessed the highest forms of human solidarity among those marginalized by society. By the journey's end, Guevara's perception of Latin America had transformed. He no longer saw it as a collection of separate nations, but as a single entity requiring a continent-wide liberation strategy. In the crucible of poverty, hunger, and disease, Guevara concluded that mere medical intervention could not address the root cause of the suffering. His experiences during the journey convinced him that true assistance required a departure from the realm of medicine and an entry into the political arena of armed struggle, setting the stage for the revolutionary fervor that would define his later years. Che's early political activism was profoundly shaped by his travels through Latin America. His journey in 1953 took him through regions dominated by the United Fruit Company, a powerful American multinational corporation. It was during this time that he became convinced of the detrimental effects of the company's capitalist system on the average citizen. In a letter to his aunt Beatrice, Guevara adopted an assertive tone, expressing his determination, even swearing allegiance on an image of the recently deceased Joseph Stalin. He swore to challenge and overcome the perceived injustices perpetrated by such capitalist entities. Guevara's political consciousness deepened when he arrived in Guatemala later that year. President Jacobo Arbenzi's democratically elected government, with its ambitious land reform programs aiming to dismantle the latifundia agricultural system, left a lasting impact on him. The latifundia system, marked by concentrated land ownership and forced recruitment of local laborers, was a symbol of social injustice that Guevara vehemently opposed. The United Fruit Company, a major landowner adversely affected by Arbenz' reforms, played a central role in the events that unfolded. The subsequent US-backed overthrow of Arbenz' government by forces led by Carlos Castillo Armas left Guevara disillusioned and reinforced his perception of the United States as an imperialist power. The establishment of a right-wing dictatorship and the brutal suppression of leftist movements further solidified Guevara's conviction that armed struggle and Marxism were necessary tools to rectify socio-economic inequalities in Latin America. Guevara's involvement in an armed militia supporting Arbenz' cause and his subsequent connections with the Cuban revolutionaries in exile marked crucial moments that set the stage for his alliance with Fidel Castro and the 26th of July movements. Guevara's experiences in Guatemala laid this foundation for his conviction to an armed revolution and his vision for a just and equitable society in Latin America. Che's indelible mark on history was etched during his pivotal role in the Cuban Revolution. The revolutionary journey began with the landing of the Granma, a daring assault planned by Fidel Castro to overthrow the Batista regime in Cuba. Setting sail from Mexico on November 25, 1956, aboard the leaky cabin cruiser Granma, the 82 revolutionaries faced immediate adversity when attacked by Batista's military upon landing in Cuba. The brutal confrontation resulted in the death and capture of many, with only 22 surviving to regroup deep in the Sierra Maestra Mountains. In the Sierra Maestra, Guevara played a crucial role as a leader in the bedraggled fighting force. The survivors received support from the urban guerrilla network of Frank Pai, the 26th of July movement, and local campesinos, establishing the guerrilla base that would become the epicenter of the revolution. During this period, Guevara faced personal challenges, including an allergy to mosquito bites that would lead to agonizing cysts in his body. As supplies dwindled and morale waned, he considered these moments in the Sierra Maestra as the most painful days of the war. The turning point in the revolution came with the Battle of Santa Clara, where Guevara led a column of fighters westward towards the final push towards Havana. In a grueling 7-week march, he executed brilliant tactical victories, eventually taking control of all but the province's capital city, Santa Clara. Guevara directed his forces in the attack on Santa Clara, achieving a remarkable military victory despite being outnumbered 10-1. On January 1st, 1959, at 3 a.m., Batista, learning that his generals were negotiating a separate peace with Guevara, fled Havana for the Dominican Republic with a colossal amassed fortune. Guevara entered Havana the following day, solidifying the revolution's triumph and marking the beginning of a new era in Cuban history under Fidel Castro's leadership. Guevara's instrumental role in the Cuban Revolution demonstrated his strategic brilliance and unwavering commitment to the ideals of justice and socialism. While Che Guevara's role in the Cuban Revolution is often celebrated for its revolutionary fervor, his darker side emerged as he assumed the position of second in command. As a harsh disciplinarian, Guevara exhibited a ruthless demeanor, particularly in dealing with defectors. Those who deserted their duties were treated as traitors, and Guevara's reputation as a formidable enforcer of discipline grew as he sent squads to track down and punish those attempting to abandon their revolutionary commitments. Guevara's brutality reached its peak during the guerrilla campaign, marked by the summary executions of individuals accused of being informers, deserters, or spies. In his diaries, Guevara documented the execution of Utomito Guerra, a peasant who had served as a guide for the Castro guerrillas but admitted to treason. Guerra had accepted payments for repeatedly revealing the rebels' positions, leading to attacks by the Cuban Air Force and the burning of homes belonging to peasants sympathetic to the revolution. Facing the uncomfortable situation created by Guerra's actions, Guevara personally carried out the execution. Describing the event in his diary, Guevara wrote, "The situation was uncomfortable for the people and for Utomito. So I ended the problem by giving him a shot with a .32 pistol to the right side of his brain, with exit orifice in the right temporal lobe." This act epitomizes Guevara's ruthlessness as he made life and death decisions without hesitation, contributing to the climate of fear and intimidation within the revolutionary ranks. Che's darker side, manifested in his role as a commander in the Cuban Revolution, raises ethical questions about the methods employed in the pursuit of revolutionary ideals. The tension between the revolutionary icon and the brutal enforcer underscores the complexity of Guevara's character and the moral ambiguities inherent in armed struggles for social change. In mid-January 1959, while recuperating from a violent asthma attack at a summer villa in Tarara, Che Guevara initiated the Tarara Group. This group engaged in intense debates and formulated plans for Cuba's social, political, and economic development, revealing Guevara's growing influence in shaping the revolutionary agenda. During the rebellion against Batista's dictatorship, the revolutionary government under Fidel Castro's leadership implemented the Law of the Sierra, a 19th century penal law in territories under its control. The law authorized the death penalty for serious crimes committed by both the Batista regime and supporters of the revolution. Following the revolution's success, the government extended the application of this law to the entire republic. To execute a segment of this plan, Fidel Castro appointed Che Guevara as the commander of La Cabana Fortress Prison from January 2nd to June 12th, 1959. Guevara's mission was to purge the Batista army and administer what he termed as revolutionary justice against individuals labeled as traitors, informers, or war criminals. In his role as commander, Guevara reviewed the appeals of those convicted through the revolutionary tribunal process, with some facing the death penalty delivered by firing squads. Estimates vary, but it is believed that several hundred people were executed nationwide during this period, with Guevara's jurisdictional death toll at La Cabana ranging from 55 to 105. Conflicting accounts exist regarding Guevara's attitude towards these executions. Some exiled opposition biographers asserted that he took pleasure in the rituals of the firing squad, organizing them with enthusiasm. Conversely, others contend that Guevara pardoned as many prisoners as possible. Regardless of these varying perspectives, all accounts acknowledge that Guevara had become a hardened figure who displayed no qualms about the death penalty or the conduct of summary and collective trials. Guevara's unyielding stance was articulated in one of his letters where he stated, "The executions by firing squads are not only a necessity for the people of Cuba, but also an imposition of the people." This unapologetic commitment to revolutionary justice underscores the complex and controversial nature of Guevara's legacy during this period. Che's ideological influence in Cuba was deeply rooted in Marxist principles, and he played a crucial role in shaping the nation's revolutionary agenda. In September 1960, when asked about Cuba's ideology at the First Latin American Congress, Guevara emphasized the Marxist nature of the revolution, stating, "If I were asked whether our revolution is communist, I would define it as Marxist. Our revolution has discovered by its methods the paths that Marx pointed out." To address social inequalities, Guevara and Cuba's new leadership swiftly implemented structural changes, nationalizing factories, banks, and businesses. Their goal was to ensure affordable housing and healthcare and employment for all Cubans. Che believed that a genuine transformation of consciousness required not only economic changes, but also a shift in people's social relations and values. Central to Che's vision was the concept of the new man, where individuals were encouraged to view each other as equals and adopt values aligned with the revolutionary ideals. Guevara sought to eliminate material incentives in favor of moral ones, condemning capitalism as a system where competition led to exploitation. His economic vision aimed at creating a new man and woman. Despite having seemingly good intentions, successful execution would be difficult. As part of fostering a sense of unity between the individual and the mass, Guevara emphasized volunteer work and will. He led by example, engaging in various tasks, including working at his ministry job, participating in construction, and even cutting sugarcane on his day off. However, Guevara's new program of moral incentives replaced pay increases with commendation certificates for exceeding quotas, while ironically, those who failed to meet quotas faced pay cuts. Obviously, these economic programs face challenges. Academics pointed that his initiatives resulted in a rapid drop of productivity and a significant rise in absenteeism. Workers, accustomed to individual material gain, struggled with the transition to a system focused on moral incentives. Guevara blamed the inadequacy of the Agrarian Reform Law enacted in 1959, which maintained a heightened sense of individual ownership among workers. The period known as the Great Debates unfolded from 1962 to 1965, marked by public discussions about Cuba's economic policy. Facing economic challenges, Guevara advocated for volunteerism and ideological motivations to boost production. In 1968, all non-agricultural private businesses were nationalized, and the entire Cuban economy was directed towards achieving a 10 million ton sugar harvest. These measures, inspired by the resolutions of the Great Debate, would leave a lasting impact on Cuba's economic trajectory, ultimately emphasizing sugar production at the expense of other sectors, becoming a defining feature in the revolutionary era. Che Guevara's life came to a dramatic and tragic end in 1967. In the years leading up to his death, Guevara had become a key figure in the Cuban Revolution and a prominent leader in Fidel Castro's government. However, ideological differences and a desire for further revolutionary movements led him to leave Cuba in 1965. Guevara ventured into various countries, including the Congo and Bolivia, attempting to ignite new revolutions. Unfortunately, his efforts faced significant challenges, including lack of local support and opposition from both local governments and the United States. In Bolivia, where he believed a successful revolution could spark a continental uprising, Guevara's guerrilla campaign faltered. On October 8, 1967, he was captured by Bolivian forces and executed the following day. Che's death marked the end of a tumultuous journey that began with idealistic aspirations and revolutionary fervor, but ultimately faced the harsh realities of global geopolitical complexes and armed resistance. In the end, Guevara's life and legacy present a complex tapestry of both commendable attributes and controversial actions. On one hand, his sincere desire to alleviate the suffering of the poor, his affinity for the oppressed, and his commitment to combating social injustices have earned him admiration as a revolutionary icon. Guevara's selflessness, evidenced by his willingness to endure personal hardships and risk his life for the cause, reflects a genuine passion for creating a more fair and just society. However, this altruistic side is juxtaposed against a darker side and more ruthless dimension. As commander in the Cuban Revolution, he exhibited a harsh disciplinarian approach, engaging in summary executions and creating an atmosphere of fear within the ranks. His role in revolutionary tribunals, where he oversaw the application of the death penalty, underscores his commitment to justice but at any cost, even if it meant compromising traditional principles of due process. Guevara's ideological convictions, rooted in Marxism, manifested in drastic economic reforms aimed at eliminating material incentives in favor of more moral ones. While his vision of a new man sought to foster equality and unity, the implementation of his programs faced challenges, resulting in decline in productivity and increased dissent. The Great Debate that ensued in Cuba highlighted the complexities and contradictions inherent in Guevara's economic ideology. Ultimately, Che's legacy is a nuanced one, marked by the tension between his genuine compassion for the marginalized and his uncompromising pursuit of justice through revolutionary means. Whether seen as a hero or villain, Guevara's impact on history cannot be denied. Understanding Che Guevara requires grappling with the paradoxes inherent in his legacy, serving as a reminder that even those driven by noble ideals may tread a path fraught with moral ambiguity and consequences.